The following program contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. You are listening to Zeitgeist Lab Collections from Itchy Grundle Podcast. In Collection 3, Brian and Alex metaphorically traveled north to Canada to investigate the Canadian content that seems to be pervasive everywhere. This is Episode 1, The Weakerthans, Reconstruction Site.
I'm gonna edit the pod each weekend. I'll never fall a week behind. Ryan's gonna be sober. We're finally gonna be fine. We're gonna squash our beef about Culvers. We're gonna double our Patreon subscribed. We're gonna have less igloos. We're gonna finally be fine. We're gonna put our bibs to eat all the liquids, munching them up in a hurry. And we're gonna listen to all of the notes given to us from Pendlery! Yeah! We're gonna have less pop-punk guys than the first two collections combined. We're gonna pod forever, gonna fight too hard together. And we're finally gonna be sunny and shiny, and we're gonna finally be fine!
Hey, you paying attention?
Huh? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about what the podcast is going to be like now that we're not talking about community. Sorry about that. Are you ready to start?
I'm ready to start whenever you're ready to start. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But,
welcome.
Are you bummed that we're not talking about community anymore, or you're just?
No, I mean I'm not bummed. I'm just lost in thought. You know that I get nostalgic. I mean, we've done our clip shows before, and you know, the beginning of a new season is a good time to look back in reflection internally. We've already done that with our listeners, but you know, I was just a moment of quiet reflection before we get started here.
Just saying a quick prayer.
Yeah, exactly.
Silent prayer.
Precisely. Yeah. So, welcome to the Zeitgeist Lab Collections podcast. This is Collection 3. We are here to talk about Canada and CanCon, and I am one of your hosts, Alex, and my other host is with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Brian.
It's Brian. You sounded like, I wasn't sure if you were going to say Brian. You stuttered for a second.
I wasn't sure if I was going to cough from that.
Oh, okay. All right, so you're not sure if you're going to cough. You're not usually ill, so that means you must have some sort of inhalant that's making you think there might be some coughing coming.
I got my microphone.
Your microphone? Okay.
My little magic wand.
Okay, that's like a Bob Barker style microphone.
So yeah, my pen.
Your pen. So you are a vapor now.
This is weed.
You're still vaping though.
Yeah, vaping weed or Delta 8.
Right.
It's pretty specific.
So wait,
I'm not going to answer a million questions about it though.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I want to talk about is that thing. So if I can't ask a million questions, I don't even know what I'm supposed to say right now.
It's okay.
I mean, am I allowed to request a temperature check at least, or?
Oh yeah, I've been doing this thing all day.
So you're getting more high than you used to, like high more often at least. The microphone's muted again. There's so much coughing.
It's muted. Oh shit! I hit talk on accident. What was the question?
So you're getting high more often than you were before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so much easier and convenient than smoking like just regular weed.
I really want to go back and find, because I swear to God I have a clip of you saying that you would never be, like you wouldn't vape. That was not going to be your thing.
No, I would never say that.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I've used these things before. Yeah, but my friend put me on. My former roommate and current juggalo friend put me onto these.
Okay, now this is maybe the third or fourth time in a row that we've talked that your juggalo friend has come up. And yet prior to that, we had gone like 9 months without ever talking about this person. So, like, why is this person just like back in your life suddenly? Or is it just recently you've really had more reason to talk about juggalos?
No, we hadn't hung out for like 2 years.
Okay.
Haven't talked for quite some time either. And then, started hanging out recently.
Oh, nice.
So maybe that's why.
Maybe. Do you think he'd want to be on the podcast? Would he be a good guest? I'm still looking for guests for this season.
I don't know if he would.
Some friend you are then. I don't know if this guy would be a good guest or not.
I could talk to him about it.
We could do a Patreon episode about ICP.
There we go. Yeah, they're not Canadian though.
I know, but Detroit is close, right? Like Michigan's just one state below the border. Like it's a border state, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
And we don't always talk about the Patreon episodes aren't always about what the main season's about.
Yeah, that's perfectly true. Yeah,
we talked about the fucking royal family during a season about drive-through records. So you tell me why it has to be about. It doesn't have to be relevant to the season.
This podcast doesn't have to make sense.
No, that's a question.
It doesn't have to be called Zeitgeist Labs, where we presumably look at things in the zeitgeist, but then I get the list of topics for this month, and I've never heard of any of them.
I can't help it if you're not part of the Canadian zeitgeist. So that's a question. Does our podcast make sense? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you still listen to our podcast?
Since we've been on break, I haven't, no.
But I listen as I edit, but that's kind of different because I'm just so focused on where can I trim stuff, where do I need to get rid of Brian coughing or me making weird noises. So I don't know that I actually ever go back and listen to the episodes. So for all I know, these episodes are just absolute dog shit. I don't know.
I don't think it's that bad because people still listen to it.
That's true. We do have a grundle of listeners who seem to be loyal to us.
A grundle?
A grundle.
This is a new word.
I don't know how new it is. I think it's a real word.
I've never heard this word before.
You've never heard the word grundle?
No.
Grundle.
And I know my measurements. But I've never heard of a grundle.
I think I might have the wrong word here.
That's what I thought.
Looks like the grundle is essentially the taint. What word am I thinking of?
Oh, wow.
So right here it says,
listeners,
the grundle is the area between the anus and the genitals. I don't know. So obviously I have my words all mixed up there.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's what bothered me.
You're the taint.
That's right. We got a taint of listeners that are.
You're the taint of the podcast,
and the epicenter of that taint is Buttermuffin 155, if I do say so myself.
Alex is the brains. I'm the mouth of the podcast.
The mouth?
Yeah, and
well, I'm the pod god. We've established that. I'm the god.
No, I'm just. But you're stepping on my little thing here.
Okay, all right. So if we're a body,
you're the brains.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the mouth. The listeners are the taint.
The loyal listeners are the taint.
Yes, of course. Loyal is always bad.
Yeah, the occasional listeners are just I don't know, the belly button.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Okay, so before we get into talking about Canada or our subject for this week, what's going on, Brian? We've not been really in front of the paywall in a minute. We haven't even really talked in a while.
Yeah, it's been about a week or two.
Yeah.
Did
you have a good off season? Did you do anything fun over the hiatus?
I watched the Packers win.
Did they finally get a win?
They won on Monday, yeah.
Okay.
We were supposed to record on Monday, but instead I went to my parents' house and watched the Packer game.
Nice.
With my dad. That was pretty fun.
Was your dad get high?
No. He told me to vape in the garage.
So he doesn't care if you bring it to his house, though?
Right, yeah. He didn't ask too many questions about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I got rip-roaringly high there.
Okay.
Watched the Packers win. That was fun. I haven't been doing much else, you know. I had that job and I quit it.
Right.
That was pretty stupid. Not a stupid decision, but that was a stupid 2 weeks to be alive.
Yeah, like we talked about before. You sounded kind of bleak when we did the Sum 41 episode, so I'm glad that maybe you're out of that. At least one of the aspects that may have been causing you so much dismay at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I forgot how bleak I sounded on that one. I haven't listened back. I'll have to do that soon.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I would recommend it to all our listeners, actually. Patreon.com/zglabpod.com.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we don't plug our Patreon enough, even though we did get another listener in the off season.
Yeah, we got another patron. So we're things are really coming up, Zeitgeist.
Hell yeah! Shout out to whoever, I forget. I don't know their name.
Shout out to Michael, our new patron, who if I've been following along correctly, goes by the name The Golden Umbrella Stands. He was one of the contributors to our Shoes Robinson compilation, which I recommend everyone go check out to help out the Buckle Bunnies Fund in Texas, helping fund abortions, and because Shoes is amazing, and because all of the artists on that comp, especially Poli Sci Alex, just kick tons of ass. So check that out along with our Patreon.
Yeah, that was an amazing thing we did.
It was
that you did, rather.
No. Look, I'm getting out. Everything we do together. We suck together, or we do that together. I'm not. We did it.
No, like I wanted to, I wanted to be known that like you put that together. I had nothing to do with it, even though it's amazing.
Okay, all right. Well,
it's amazing. It's an amazing thing that I had nothing to do with. I forgot about it, and like you told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's cool." And I totally spaced on it, and then seeing Shoe's reaction was really heartwarming. So
it was heartwarming. So
it was a very nice process.
Exactly. So everyone should go to patreon.com/zglabpod. $3 simple a month. Gets you access to what is now 10 great episodes. And there'll be more, because we promise at least 2 a season. So we'll do some more this season. But we might do one about the grundle. Maybe a full episode dedicated to grundles. Might be an interesting one to get behind the paywall. Okay. So I think it's that time. It was kind of a segment in the first season, but not really, and more of a segment in season 2, more regular anyway. But this is I think it's time to officially declare this an actual segment of the Zeitgeist Lab.
Mail time.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Hell
right.
yeah.
It is time for mail from our grundle.
Time to reach down and touch the grundle. All right. So I reached out twice to our loyal fan base on Twitter, inquiring what we should talk about. And I have too many notifications. Hold on. All right.
While you're checking that, I just want to say that, like, during our first season, you had your own Twitter account. And during the second season, you didn't. But it was like your season, so it was like whatever. And now we're in the third season, and it's just like it's my season, but we both run the Twitter. I just like, do we always have to be talking about sports on the Twitter? Like, that seems to be all that you tweet about these days is sports.
Not these days, just ever since the Packers started.
Right.
I can.
Right. So we're like going to be right in the.
I cannot tweet about sports.
Well, I mean, maybe we just like, I don't know. Maybe I just need to get in there and offer up other things, because I don't want to like censor you. I just don't want that to be all that's on our Twitter. I don't mind if that's on there, but I just don't want us to be like a football Twitter account or something. I don't know.
Well, you can tweet things from it too.
I know. I do sometimes. It's hard to remember. I'm hardly ever on Twitter on my own account these days.
Yeah.
And I know that you said that Twitter is dumb and stupid and bad, so.
Twitter is boring and bad, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tweet more stuff in addition to the stuff about sports. It'll be hard, but I can do that.
Okay, well, what do our listeners? What's in the mailbag?
All right. I'm rubbing the taint.
Man, we're really just leaning fully into this taint thing now, aren't we?
You're the one that thought grundle meant something else.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do what I want with it.
That's perfect. You do whatever you want with that taint.
My taint, my choice.
Right. I like some good taint play.
All right, so I reached out twice. No one said anything the today. But wait, no, yeah,
I think someone did say something today.
Yeah, it's the response is hidden. Gabe Sluice.
The sluice is loose.
Said video games ?
No, that's my answer. No.
Okay.
Since it's a question, I'm just gonna say no. I'm not talking about video games. Video games are bad. Are you still playing video games? I know you had been for a little while.
Well, my laptop broke, so I haven't been playing anything.
Oh, okay.
But that's my answer, I guess.
I like Sonic the Hedgehog. I've probably said that before, but Sonic the Hedgehog is the best video game of all time. And
Which
Mario
one?
And Nintendo can get fucked. Obviously, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 from Sega Genesis.
Correct. That is the correct answer.
Good. I know it is, but I'm glad that you know as well.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's the best game of all time. But if we're going best Sonic game, oh yeah, definitely.
What's the best video game of all time then?
Streets of Rage 2 is up there for the Sega Genesis. Street Fighter 2. Pokemon Red and Blue.
Oh, you know what else was really good on the Sega Genesis was Deion Sanders Primetime Football.
Did you only have a Sega Genesis? That's like the last console you owned?
No, I also had a Dreamcast. I moved on to the Dreamcast 5 years later or something like that. And then I had so I had the Dreamcast and I played the Sonic games, but that's when I got into Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 specifically. And then 3 came out and it wasn't going to be on the Dreamcast because the Dreamcast was like end of life by then. So I saved up my allowance money for like 6 to 9 months and got a PlayStation 2 so I could keep playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Nice. That's also some of the best games of all time.
But yeah, PlayStation 2 is the last console I had.
Damn. That was me for a while too, and then I got PlayStation 3. Even though the PlayStation 4 had come out.
So do you still have it?
No. I traded it to Juggalo Max.
Oh my god. Alright, we've really come full circle here, huh?
Yep.
What did he give you in return for it?
A PlayStation 2.
Oh.
I just wanted to play one game.
Okay.
Do you still have compatible with 3?
It was what?
And it wasn't compatible with 3.
What game?
Time Splitters 2.
Okay. So do you still have the PS2?
It broke. Okay. Everything I own eventually breaks.
Watch out, Doom, then.
Yeah. I was going to look at her, but then I realized I let her outside.
Oh, wow. Getting bold, huh?
Yeah, no, she can run around the downstairs area. She knows that.
Gotcha. All right, what's next in our mailbag here?
Let's see. I don't think there was a topic. Let's see here. Okay. Well, I said we're actually recording season 3 premiere tomorrow. What do you want to hear us yap about? And Buttermuffin just wrote, it was 34 degrees here last night, which wasn't really an answer to my question.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. But if you follow the thread, he then talks about how it's he's just letting us know that it's pumpkin spice latte season.
Oh, is that what he said?
Mm-hmm. Because I pointed out that it wasn't even a question.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I don't see that in the thread.
Oh, I know, because then he retweeted your post trying to get other people to answer.
Oh, that's right.
Let's see if anyone responded to that.
No,
nope, it was just me. Oh, I said I'd like to hear them talk about the decline of Western democracy. So, and then I just told him that his suggestion was just a temperature, and he said, I was just letting you know what time it is. Hashtag PSL.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Fun fact, my cat's name before I adopted her was Pumpkin Spice Latte.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think you definitely made the right move by changing that.
Yeah, now it's Dr. Doom. That was you can't get a bigger upgrade than that.
No, I mean, that's a great name that you picked for, but literally anything would have been an upgrade from Pumpkin Spice Latte. You could have named her Grundle, and that would have been
better. I've been wondering what I was going to name a second cat if I got one.
And now
I can't think of anything, but now I think I know what I'm going to do.
Grundle?
Grundle.
Okay. All right. Okay, so is that it for mail time?
I think so.
All right. Well, thank you, you tainty little listeners, for dropping your requests. Yeah, keep them coming in because it's always a fascinating part of the show. So, okay, season 3. We made it to season 3. We got renewed. We're back. We're here. We are talking about Canada. Not Canada, like fuck actual Canada, but we're talking about CanCon. So, I don't know. I've talked to Pan Blurry about this some. I've been told that maybe the correct phrase would be Canadiana. CanCon. Yeah, kind of like Americana versus Canadiana. Oh. Because CanCon might imply that it's just music, but I don't know. So either way, we're talking about pop culture from Canada. I've been thinking about this one for a while, kind of almost a year ago, right before we started this project. You and I had talked about, what could we possibly talk about after Drive Through Records. And one of the things I suggested was CanCon, and that's just because it seems to me like it's kind of everywhere. To me, anyway, it kind of starts with I made a friend who was a Canadian, and it was like the first Canadian I'd ever known in real life. And ever since then, I've just kind of seen Canada everywhere, from our parent podcast, Blink 155, all the way to like shows my kid watches. To podcasts that my wife listens to that aren't Blink 155. So it just seems like my life has become inundated with all things CanCon since about the year 2016. So I kind of want to explore that. But, when I started thinking about this season, I was like, oh yeah, cool, we're going to do like Nickelback and Sum 41 and Avril Lavigne. And then I kind of had this paradigm shift where I was like, well, wait, what if we talk about Canadian stuff that I've... Yeah, a paradigm shift.
Partigram, yeah.
Partigram, yeah. Partigrams of human memory. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, because I was kind of feeling uncomfortable, and I stopped to kind of readjust my grundle, and then my what's the word? I can't even mispronounce it right. Partigram? My partigram shifted?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, what if we talk about Canadian content that I really don't know? We're going to talk about a few things that I am familiar with and that you're familiar with, but as you kind of allude to, the list of things that I have chosen, like I know you looked at it and you're like, what the fuck are some of these things? And I would say the exact same thing. I don't really know a lot of these things we've been talking about. It's just kind of a grab bag of like 14 things I found that I wanted to talk about. So to me, that's why we're talking about this. That's kind of where I came to Canadiana or whatever. Maybe we should call the season... Should we just call the season O Canada? Isn't that the name of their national anthem? I don't know. Brian, what are your thoughts on CanCon?
I feel like Canada is the superior nation.
Well, it's just America's hat.
It's America's hat, yeah. It's true.
They're the superior nation. You would say that because you're from a place that already gets ungodly cold in the winter. So to you, it's like, oh yeah, the weather is basically the same, but they give me health care. Whereas when I think of Canada, I'm like, God, that seems pretty cold.
That's not just why I'm saying it.
Okay.
I when I think about it, like some of my favorite bands are from Canada. No, I just think it's a superior nation just because they have healthcare and
legalized weed,
and then they figured out weed a long time before we did.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us still haven't.
Do you care about like weed being legalized? Because you just use it no matter what. So do you even really care if it's legal or not?
Yeah, because then we get dispensaries with like all kinds of cool shit.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And I could actually like get it prescribed as like an antidepressant, and someone knowledgeable will know, hey, this strain is good for depression.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And plus, I mean, obviously, you're not too concerned about breaking the law, but it's nice to be able to do things without like having to worry, like, oh, what if I get caught with this or that or whatever. So yeah, I can see that.
That too, yeah. Even though I'm white, it's been legal for me for a long time.
Right.
But yeah. So they have that figured out. I mean, it's like I've always thought Canada has been superior nation just because for those reasons and other reasons.
Okay.
That I can't really pull out from my grundle at the moment.
So what have you ever made the trip north of the border?
No.
Okay, yeah, neither have I.
Never been.
All right, well. That question kind of got us nowhere then. So, what
You're just hoping that I've been there, huh?
Yeah. So you've seen the list of what we're going to be talking about. Without giving too much away, like, what are your thoughts on some of what we're going to be discussing this over the next few months? Are you excited? Are you weary? Or do you think it's going to suck? Like,
I'm excited more than anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on, my cat wants to get back inside. Hopefully, I don't know what this season's gonna be like for her.
Yeah, first season in a new place for her.
Yeah, it's, for me too.
Well, yeah, but change is hard for people, but at least you can kind of contextualize it and understand it. Whereas a cat's like, what the fuck is going on?
Why do we live here now? Why did we downgrade so badly?
Right, yeah.
Which is exactly what I did. And realizing But it's all a money thing.
All right. Well, let's get into this first episode we're going to talk about. When we settled on CanCon, or I guess when I did, I of course gave you the chance to let me know if there was an episode or two you wanted to do. This was the only thing that you had specifically ever mentioned to me. You said you wanted to talk about a album from Canadian songwriter John K. Sampson. So we're going to talk about Less Talk, More Rock by Propagandhi.
Some of my otherwise brilliant friends.
Of course, I'm kidding.
That's the first time I ever heard Propagandhi right there.
Yeah, the first time I heard it was also earlier today as I was doing some... So we're here to talk about the Weakerthans, specifically their 2003 album Reconstruction site. And one thing I learned today was that the Weakerthans was started by a former bass player from Propagandhi, John K. Sampson.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that, no. I don't know anything. I've never heard of the Weakerthans. I've heard of Propagandhi, but never listened to them.
Well, aren't you in for a treat?
Apparently I am. And that song that we listened to like 5 seconds of was called Apparently I Am a PC Fascist Because I Care About Both Human and Non-Human Animals. So, yeah. Okay, so Brian, why are we talking about the Weakerthans?
Because they're the best band from Canada.
The best band from Canada.
Yeah, I'll say it. I'll go there.
Okay, and if that's the case, if you think that, why did you never go back and, like, I don't know what order you discover these things in, but if I was like, oh, I found this awesome band that I love, and their lead singer used to be in a different band, I would probably go back and explore that band. But you're saying you've never bothered to go back and listen to Propagandhi.
No, I don't really care.
Okay.
I never they're always compared to other bands that I never listened to, I never really cared about. So yeah, I knew the Weakerthans were already so different from what Propagandhi sounded like.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not gonna find like the missing link to what makes this so good.
Right. So tell me then, like, what is your history with the Weakerthans? Because when you say it's the best band from Canada, that's fine. But what strikes me as odd is that this seems like a band that would have come out of that phase where you were stopping by the record label or the record store on the way home from therapy, checking out emo albums or something.
That's exactly when I got into them. I was going to mention that.
Okay.
That's what I got. Yeah, that's weird that you kind of nailed that.
So, and despite the fact that your taste has changed a lot since then, because some of the bands that you discovered in that time, Dashboard Confessional, Something Corporate, you now seem to think it's a little bit embarrassing to go back and revisit. Do you feel that way now about the Weakerthans, or has this held up?
This holds up incredibly well. Holds up incredibly well, and then so does their superior album, Left and Leaving.
Okay, so you did not, because you picked the album as well as the band, but
yeah, and because I didn't stay on brand, I'm picking the not best thing.
Right, the not best thing.
Talk about, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the first time I had listened to them. I haven't listened to any of the other albums yet because I've been.
This was my gateway drug to the Weakerthans. This album was.
So this is the first one you found?
This should be the first one anyone hears, I think.
Okay. So you've gone back and listened to it in preparation for this, or no?
Yeah, I listened to it today, yeah.
Okay. So tell me what your thoughts are. When's the last time you listened to it? Because I know you tend to, unlike me, who I'll listen to an album over and over again.
Quite a couple of years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Quite a few years, yeah. A number of years since I last listened to it, because I used to listen to it at work a lot when I worked at a liquor store, because it was like the only friendly thing I was on my iPod.
Okay.
So I'd listen to their whole discography in like a day, because there's only 4 albums and they're all good, but they all sound the same.
Okay.
You can put the discography on shuffle, and it wouldn't make a difference really.
Gotcha. So what thoughts did you have revisiting it today? Like, were you taken back to that time, or?
Not really. I wasn't transported back in time or anything. It was just it was just like, and I still know all the words to all the songs. It's kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't listen to music like this anymore, but I still love it. That's kind of my thought process there.
Gotcha. Okay, so this was the third album by the Weakerthans from 2003, and it says here it's a song cycle about grief, regret, loss, and eventual hope. So what songs stick out to you?
I gotta here.
Now, while you're looking at that, one thing I didn't notice, I guess there's these 3 songs, Manifest, Hospital Vespers, and Past Due, which are 3 different sonnets that follow a terminally ill hospital patient into the aftermath of his death to the same melody. So I definitely did not pick up on that. I will say that
I didn't pick up on that either, but I know that all those songs have the same exact melody.
I feel like the first half of this album is extremely solid. Like, especially like, I don't know. No, they're all like, all the first 7 songs are really good. After that, it starts feeling kind of samey. Like you said, I guess if you just put on the whole discography, it's hard to say what songs are from what albums. So it's not that it gets bad. It's just I feel like they're not doing anything new to keep my attention through the end of the album.
Yeah. Wait. So One Great City doesn't stick out to you?
That's one, like, when I saw it, because that's why I said, oh yeah, I guess the second half does have some good ones, because that's one that I do remember. It's not, I mean, it's still good, but it doesn't hold a flame to, like, the first 5 or 6 songs.
Yeah, the stickouts for me are like, yeah, I guess, like, you're right, the first half, basically. And then A New Name for Everything, One Great City, Benediction. The whole album is really fantastic. The lyrics on this thing are just insane. Like, he's really a gifted writer for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously a very, very gifted songwriter too. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting because we're probably going to talk more about this later in the season, but as we all know, recently Canadian comedian Norm Macdonald passed away, and I was like listening to this album as I got that news, and I've been going back and looking through all the clips or reading Onion articles that people may have sent me. So I think that for whatever reason, I'm always going to tie this album to just, I guess, being nostalgic for Norm Macdonald. So I don't. It's kind of an odd feeling to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. It is about a death in a way. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought like the song "Plea from a Cat Named Virtue." Is that what it is?
Virtue. A plea from a cat named Virtute? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice that second T.
I used to think it was Virtue until I noticed like a couple of years ago. It's Virtue or something, but I think just writing a song from the perspective of your animal is just really brilliant.
And that one did strike me. And I did some research. It seems like there's a few songs from this cat's perspective during the discography, throughout the discography.
And then his whole career.
And this one, that song actually reminds me of you.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Because it's very much like, it seems like it's just like, this person and the cat. And obviously you and your cat have gone through a lot together. But I don't know, like, not to get too sappy or vulnerable or earnest or whatever, although again I will stress that some people have told us that's when we do our best work. I feel like just getting to know you over the last year is that sometimes maybe you're a little too hard on yourself, or maybe I don't know. I feel like sometimes you're self-defeating when it's not necessary. And it seems like the theme of this song is that the cat's like, hey, you're actually stronger than you think, right? And so it just reminded me of like the relationship you seem to have with your cat, for whatever that's worth.
No, I think that's really accurate. Yeah. Yeah, I'm that's nice that it reminds you of me. But yeah, and it's pretty accurate. That's always been a favorite of mine too.
Yeah.
The song. Yeah, and like I haven't listened to it lately, so yeah, it's a kind of a good reminder to not be so hard on myself and
right,
not to overthink the past and things like that are also brought up in the song.
Yeah, for sure. So is this what I mean? Maybe this is what we'll find out throughout the rest of the season. Is this? It's Canadian because it was made by Canadians, but is this overtly Canadian? What makes this Canadian? Other than the fact, like maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe it's just Canadian because it's made by Canadians, and that's all that ever matters. Maybe there's not any.
Well, I mean, there's a song about Winnipeg and hating it, and
right.
The lyrics are like, he's counting loonies. I mean, that's pretty Canadian.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, maybe our guest can help us figure this out more because we're going to have a guest on this episode who's from Canada, who seemed excited to talk about the Weakerthans. So maybe he can help us kind of figure out how this fits into the broad thing. I will say there are a few songs in here that I thought, this kind of sounds like Bare Naked Ladies, another Canadian band. And just some of the guitar and some of the melodies. Do you not hear that then?
No, but one time I was listening to this album at the liquor store I worked at.
Uh-huh.
And this lady thought it was the Strokes.
What?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, she was like, the Strokes, I haven't heard these guys in a long time. And I was like, this is not the Strokes, lady.
Nice. Okay, well, should we get into some videos here?
Sure.
Okay. So first we've got a plea from a cat named Virtute, live in 2011.
Don't you ever want to play? Tired of this piece of string. Sleep as much as I do now, and you don't eat much of anything. Don't know who you're talking to. Made a search through every room. All I found was dust and gloom. Shadows of the afternoon. That was better songs to sing.
Man, really good live band apparently.
Oh yeah,
that sounded really good. Have you seen them live?
No, unfortunately, I haven't. No, they're not together anymore either.
Yeah, I mean, it says they're inactive, but this John Sampson, I guess, has a side project, or no, he put out a solo album rather.
Yeah,
it featured
a solo career. Yeah,
it featured at least a couple of the guys from the Weakerthans. Okay, here they are playing The Reasons in Vancouver in 2009.
Such a good song.
It's a really good one. This is either this or Reconstruction Site are probably my favorite songs on the record.
Yeah, Reconstruction Site's brilliant too. just so like nonchalant about everything. Like the way he like performed.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's like, I don't really care. You know, I'm fucking speaking, but I don't feel like it. Here's a song.
Yeah.
Just so nonchalant.
Yeah, I mean that's really good. I really love this song, especially towards the end, because it seems like it's gonna end, and then like they build this tension. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's 8 bars or something, but they build this tension, and then suddenly they go back to the chorus, and it's like brilliant songwriting because it's so subtle. Like I don't even know if I'm explaining it right. I don't know if a lot of people even pick up on like, oh, this is what I like about this song, but it's subtle but so impactful.
Oh yeah. Like you should listen to their other albums. They're just like this one.
Okay.
And I think the first 2 are more raw in their production, so it makes sense. More. Yeah, so it's even more impactful. I feel like the production is a little watered down on this one, but
gotcha. Okay, so the last live one we'll look at is them playing Reconstruction site. This is in 2013 in Toronto at Riot Fest.
Oh, I forgot Riot Fest used to be in Canada.
Rope tied down, leaky boat to the roof of a car on a road in the dark and it's snowing.
Oh, he got a beard here.
A summer parade up the street in the town that you were born in.
That would lose my mind if I thought of Weakerthans. They're like they're top 5 favorites.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying I would lose my mind if I was there. But yeah. I thought seeing the Weakerthans because they're like a top 5 favorite band, I think.
Really? I mean, I can understand why. I think it's definitely with any band that you really, really connect with, you've got to find them at a certain time or the right time. I think for me, that time has passed, but I can definitely understand why if you find this band at a certain time, they would be like a top tier band because, I mean, they're incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, should we get into some covers? It's not going to shock you to find that most of the covers I've found are just dudes with their acoustic guitar, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're kind of a dude band for sure.
And the ultimate dude with his ultimate acoustic guitar is, of course, Dashboard Confessional, and here he is covering Reconstruction site.
Wait, Dashboard Confessional covered the Weakerthans?
Yeah.
Whoa. He's singing it all Dashboard like.
Well, of course, he's Dashboard.
He is Dashboard. Dashboard man.
And I miss somewhere sad, waiting like the queen. Beauty's just another word, never certain how to spell. Tell the nurse to turn it to me.
Beauty's just another word, never certain how it's spelled. That sounds like a Dashboard lyric.
Kinda, yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Like a banjo, somebody's uncle told at a wedding.
It's definitely a different interpretation on the song.
Yeah, it's definitely his own. He's definitely making it his own, which I give him credit for, but it's his own, not mine.
Right. It's not what you want to see.
Oh no.
Okay, this is a cover of Time's Arrow from 2020. It's a quarantine cover.
Oh.
From John De Dominici. All of this was recorded in our separate homes during quarantine.
This is the good one.
An electric drum kit.
Cool.
So you watch the sunrise sinking, and she's talking in her sleep. Dream of how alone she was tomorrow when you keep all those promises to someone in a mirror you will find.
I wasn't expecting a lady vocalist.
Yeah, me either.
Dude.
House in 1989.
Now I feel bad for calling it a dude band.
You feel sad for calling it a dude band?
Yeah, I feel bad for
I
calling.
feel bad.
Yeah, for calling them a dude band earlier.
Well, that's okay. I mean, this is mostly dudes. And most of the covers I found, I didn't actually get far enough in that one to see that it was a female vocalist, but so most of the covers I did find tried to find females covering it because at least that's different. Because, again, there are just like hundreds of videos of like bros covering these songs with their acoustic guitar. But let's do one more bro cover here. This is what is it called here? One man full band. So I think this is the same guy playing all the parts, and then he's recorded the multiple videos and put them together. And this is one man full band cover of The Reasons.
What's all the wreckage?
No, jeez.
Covered by Corey Hunt.
I don't know how to sing. I can barely play this thing.
It's playing too slow. It's too slow.
Never seen my mind. And you tell me
Yeah, it's a bit slow.
when you need somebody to.
I like how for each video he's got like a different look. Like the lead singer, he's got the tie and the button down. Then some videos he's got his glasses on.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's too far away from me to see if I'm looking at him now. Yeah, keep the swag up a little bit.
I mean, it's a fine enough cover, but just the tempo's too slow.
It's too slow. It was faithful to the original in a way that I don't know. I didn't like.
Right. Okay. Jeez, I've got a lot here. Let's just pick a few. Here is a plea from a cat name. It's going to bother me that I don't know how to pronounce this cat's name. This is the cat song. This is someone named Isabel. This is from April of 2020. It looks like she's playing an electric guitar. Let's see if she's got it hooked up to an amp.
Wonder if she's gonna like just Julian Baker it and just like really belt it out. No, they're not.
I don't know who Julian Baker is. I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sleep as much as I do now, and you don't need much of anything.
I appreciate that she's doing like the finger picking because it'd be. I mean, obviously the go-to thing is just to like hit the palm mutes or the chords or something, but she's making it more interesting than it could be.
Shadows of the afternoon.
Yeah, this is a really good cover.
Yeah.
About those bitter songs you sing, they're not helping anything. They won't make you strong.
Yeah, no, this is really good.
So we should open up the house.
For sure.
Invite the tabby 2 doors down.
See, when you take the bro out of it, obviously the band is dudes, and that's fine. But I think maybe when you cover it, you need a different perspective to make it interesting, at least.
I mean, that song's interesting enough on its own.
Yeah. Okay, here is Sarah Downin covering One Great City.
Oh, I bet there's a shit ton of covers of that one.
Late afternoon, another day is nearly done. A darker gray is breaking through a lighter
I can barely hear the guitar.
Let's see if I can turn it up.
claws and sharpened elbows in the underground. That hollow hurried sound.
Were you a fan of Simon and Garfunkel?
Oh yeah.
This definitely has big Simon and Garfunkel vibes, especially her rendition here.
Clerk is closing up.
Okay, yeah, I can hear that.
And counting loonies trying not to
Can you even see it? I think my browser opened another window.
Winnipeg.
No, I can't see it.
Okay. Guess doesn't matter much.
The driver checks his mirror
Let's see if I
7
can get this
minutes
back
late.
here.
The crowded rider's restlessness enunciates.
Oh, I can see
Just
it
yourself,
now.
the jets were lousy anyway.
That was nice. It's just like a pleasant song. Maybe I need to go back and listen to that one more because that's good.
Mm.
Okay, I've got two more. This next one, I believe, is not by a female. Let's see here. But I was interested. I did not listen to this, but I thought it was interesting because this person is standing in front of the Harvey Heights Sewage Collection and Treatment Center.
Oh,
whatever that is. And they've got a ukulele, and it's a cover of The Reasons. This is Harvey Heights Music. Stopped in town I'm named after to film a quick, stupid uke cover of Winnipeg's The Weakerthans, filmed by the lovely Amanda Franklin.
I don't like this.
You don't like it?
No.
No, his voice is okay, but there's something off-putting about it.
The ukulele.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. So I've got one more cover. My model in the past has been to plan all these sorts of things out and then just like drop it randomly out of nowhere. But instead, I'm going to try something where I'm going to introduce something at the beginning of this season, and we're going to see how it plays out throughout. So I'm reaching out to either people I know, friends of the pod, or just people who I know are talented. And for any of the any of the music episodes we're going to cover, I've asked them to cover one song from whatever album we end up talking about, with the hopes of putting together like our own compilation of CanCon covers by the end. So for this,
cool.
Yeah. So for this, we've got a cover called "Reconstructed Site," and it comes to us from Veronica from Thank You for the Podcast.
Cool.
And toes.exe, you may also know her as. And she said, I was going for a hardcore / D beat type cover. And also please shout out my bass player Joe from my band who did the bass tracks. So I have not listened to this. That was one of the things I didn't want to listen to any of these going into it. So this is Reconstructed Site by Veronica.
Follow
want to circle pit.
Made you want to circle pit?
Mm.
You, being our resident hardcore expert, can weigh in on what your thoughts are on that, Brian.
Like I said, it made me want to circle pit.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was extremely sick. I think it's really funny, but in a good way, to hear like those lyrics and then kind of like done in that cadence and all of that. So I thought it was great. It was everything I would have hoped for.
The Weakerthans have done that to their own songs before.
Oh, have they?
They have a song called My Favorite Chords.
Uh-huh.
That's a stripped down acoustic song. And then for like a B-side once, they did a version of that where it's like sped up hardcore called My Favorite Power Chords.
Well, I guess you can take the kid out of propaganda, but you can't take the propaganda out of the kid.
I guess not.
All right, Brian, any final thoughts about the Weakerthans and their 2003 album Reconstruction site?
No, I mean, other than like this is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's not my favorite of theirs actually, but it's one of the best albums of all time. I feel like everyone should get into it.
Absolutely, I agree. This was great. Thank you for introducing me to this. I think it was fantastic, and I'm excited to see what our guest has to say. So stick around for that.
Hell yeah.
All right, welcome to Zeitgeist Lab Collections, Matt Cameron, also known as at CanCon 155. Matt, how's it going?
Really good. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice to have it.
So you are in Toronto, you were telling me. What's going on in Toronto this evening?
Oh, not very much. I've been back here for like a year and a half, and every single day it's been like in some stage of lockdown or what have you. So it's it's kind of opening up now, but now I'm just kind of over it. Yeah,
that's understandable.
Yeah.
So we're here because this is the first episode of our third season, and this season we're talking about CanCon. And when I thought about this, one of the many joys of doing this podcast is getting to talk to people from the 155 Pod Nation. I still consider us a spin-off of that, even though they'd probably try to disown us or something like that. But I knew that I wanted to have you on here simply because your Twitter handle is at CanCon155. I was like, okay, if we're going to do a season about CanCon, we should probably talk to Mr. CanCon himself. So we were talking a little bit before we got on mic here. You said it kind of started as an alt account, and obviously you're currently in Canada. So why CanCon as a handle? What has CanCon meant to you as a Canadian? I just give us your what's your Canadian background? Give us your creds for being here, I guess.
Well, at the time, I guess when I started listening to that podcast, I was living in LA, and It was kind of nice to hear two guys talking about like the garbage Canadian music that we were forced by the government to listen to for all of my formative years, and just kind of hearing them name check all that stuff and wanting to engage with the Twitter at the time community for that. Just kind of sprung out of there.
Okay. So I think Brian and I are both Americans, for better or worse. For us, at least for me, I'll just speak for me. I don't know what I don't think oh yeah, this is American music and that's good or bad. I just when I was a kid, I'd put on the radio and I don't fucking know where any of these bands are from. But in Canada, and maybe help me understand this better, there's a law that says at least a certain amount of the music that they play has to be Canadian based.
Yes. I'm not sure if it's still in effect, but at the time there was a law that 30% of the music and television programs broadcast on Canadian networks had to be Canadian.
30%? Wow.
30%. Don't quote me on this, but that's at least how I remember it.
Right.
And, which means they found the few bands that people actually liked and they played them to death.
Right.
So the handful of bands that kind of broke through were on the radio all the time.
So it's just Sum 41 and Nickelback all the time, basically.
Nickelback, there's a lot of other ones that didn't break through anywhere else that we all were familiar with, and they kind of get, brought back here and there, but like they never broke through in the US, and we just heard them forever, and they were just can rock bands, as they called them.
Gotcha.
And there was also some government programs even to fund the creation of it, so they were government made and government mandated, and so some of them were great bands, but it was just kind of funny that they were forced upon us.
So I mean, from your understanding, what is the point of that? Just to prop up Canadians, or like why do they have this law?
Pretty much. I mean, like, it was just to compete with American. We didn't want Canadian culture to be overrun with American music and American TV and movies, which because the language is the same and the culture is close enough that it would have. I think it's essentially happened ever since YouTube and the internet kind of washed away music videos and the radio. I think that's kind of happened, although there's still most of pop music is Canadians right now anyway. But
right.
It's I think a coincidence.
Right. Okay. So when you're listening, as an adolescent, as a youth, obviously we talked about some of the obvious Canadian bands that come to mind for me anyway: Nickelback, Avril Lavigne. But if you're just like listening, can you pick out the Canadian music just based on how it sounds? Is there a Canadian sound?
Not really. I mean, there's like regional sounds, like Toronto had a sound kind of in like the mid-aughts, like with your like Broken Social Scenes and those kind of bands that all were on the same label. I don't know if that name means anything to you at all, but bands that kind of sounded like that and had that kind of rotating group of members. Like Feist came out of that group, and a few other spin-offs that were moderately successful. But that was a sound. I mean, Montreal kind of had a sound with like Arcade Fire and that kind of stuff, but didn't really go too far beyond that. But yeah, that's not really regional sounds. It just the bands that we knew were Canadian just because we were told they were all the time. Right. That's how we knew.
So for all we know, these radio stations are just lying and claiming like, oh, like, I guess, do they have to prove it? Like they have to send in their birth certificates or something? Like, how do you prove this?
I'm not sure. I mean, like, I think there's a point. So like this, I work in the film industry, so it's like I know how it works with like, in order to get certain film tax credits, you have to hit a certain number of points to qualify your film as Canadian, right? Like your director and your writer and some of the actors and all that.
Right.
And if you have a certain number of points, then it qualifies. I don't know if that's the case with music. I'm not really sure how it was proven or not, but I'm sure there must have been some audit or something, because it was pretty like stringent. Like, the last 10 minutes of the hour, here's 2 Neil Young songs and a Rush song to gets you to your 30%.
Right.
Like on the classic rock stations, it was far worse, because you'd be hearing the same like 10 Rush songs and Bachman Turner Overdrive and
oof, nice. Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. So you said that you think it's kind of born out of this idea of not wanting popular culture to be overrun by American popular culture. Is there a tendency for a lot of Canadians to become obsessed with what's going on down here, or to just like, or is it an American obsessed culture up there sometimes?
Not really. I mean, we just are, given the same, movies and music that Americans are given, and the trends tend to go the same way. Like what's popular there is popular here.
Right.
Like, I was just looking through the charts for the 2000s just to see like if there's anything that kind of stuck out, and it's mostly the same hits. I mean, there's a Canadian song here and there, but all kind of the same. I think they just wanted to make sure that, it wasn't totally engulfed and that there was no recording or music industry here.
Gotcha. As far as you know, and I don't know if you would have any expertise on this or not, are there any other countries that have any sort of laws like this? Or
I imagine, the British have their own culture, but they support it through the government in a similar way.
Yeah.
I think it's a larger country, so it has a more of an audience, and it's a little bit different from America.
Right.
It's like, well, I have government programs for arts and all that. I think the Americans just don't, other than like, NPR and all that, but that's not really the same thing.
Yeah, we don't believe in government programs here. We don't want the government telling us anything or like giving us any sort of content. Like,
no,
we're free thinkers down here. That's why we don't believe in masks or vaccines. So,
hell yeah, brother.
Okay, so in preparation for this, you're one of the few people who saw like the list of some of the things we're going to be talking about. And there were a few subjects that you had mentioned maybe being interested in discussing with us, but in the end, you opted to guest on our episode about the Weakerthans, and you said this was one of the ones you had talked about earlier for genuine earnestness. So what is your relationship with this band?
Well, when I was like 16, 17, I was a huge Bad Religion fan, like huge.
Okay.
And the Weakerthans were on their label Epitaph, and the singer Greg Graffin had a solo record. It was kind of like bluegrass, like sort of country stuff.
Okay.
And when he like the handful like electric songs, the Weakerthans were his backing band.
Oh.
So that's kind of what got me in. It was like
I
the
had no
combination
idea.
of these two things. Yeah, it's like half like sort of like banjo, like old timey folk stuff. I think he's actually from Wisconsin originally.
Yep. Yeah, he's originally from here.
Yeah, so and then their half is sort of like Neil Young electric, like rock stuff, and minus John K. Samson, the Weakerthans backed him up. So those two things combined sort of brought me in, and then I heard Reconstruction side, and then it kind of blew me away.
So I don't really know. I didn't know this band at all, and I had no idea that there was a connection to Propaganda, another band that I know nothing about. I had at least heard of them before Brian suggested this. The phrase "the Weakerthans" meant nothing to me. Can you see the connection between Propaganda? Does this make sense, or is this like totally out of left field?
It's Propaganda is a completely different band. Like there's a few songs like before John K. Samson left, he was on the first, I think, 2 Propaganda records.
Mm-hmm.
And on the last one, like he's a couple sort of solo songs that are essentially Weakerthans songs.
Okay.
And they might have, I think they re-recorded for the Weakerthans first album, but they're kind of separate from the Propaganda stuff, which I don't know too much about them either, but is much more like, straight ahead, skate punk, or eventually sort of more like mathy punk.
Yeah, well, I checked them out in preparation for this episode because I was like, oh, there's a connection there. And I knew Propaganda just based on basically what I've heard on the 155 podcast is like a very political driven band. So I listened to a few of the songs like, oh shit, this is like overtly and like in your face liberalism, like songs like people say I'm a PC fascist because I don't eat meat or things like that. It's like, and I'm like, okay, this is nothing at all like the Weakerthans, because this Weakerthans album is just like very earnest about emotions, about grief and all that. There's nothing really political about it. But I listen to Propaganda, I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is so political.
Yeah, it's a complete sort of left turn from Propaganda to go from the most direct political statements to potentially all metaphor. Like he's not really directly relating to anything.
Yeah. So what about this album? You said it blew you away. Tell me about that. What is it that impresses you about this album?
I don't know. I think the main thing is just the songwriting. He's a fantastic songwriter. Nothing's too in your face. Like he kind of works around an idea for essentially the whole album. It kind of comes back to these few themes. There's the 3. I guess I think they're technically sonnets, but the Manifest and then Hospital Vespers and Past Due. They're all these kind of like repetitions on a theme about grief. And I think the last song, the character is dead and is now floating around.
Right.
So he uses a lot of narrators and devices rather than just directly relating to an idea, which I like.
When I was listening to it, there were a few things that I thought kind of sounded like Bare Naked Ladies, which is another Canadian band. Brian said he didn't hear it, but they're like, it was mainly in some of the melodies and some of like the guitar noodling. I was like, this has like a Bare Naked Ladies feel. I
don't know if I've ever thought about that. I mean, I can kind of see there's a little bit of like, kind of loose playing on. I don't know enough about the Bare Naked Ladies, honestly. I mean, that is one of the bands that we were kind of forced upon, but because
right, yeah,
maybe part of that was like just a rejection of it. I never liked them, honestly. But.
Right, yeah. I mean, I like the hits, but like I had one of their albums. I was like, this is kind of shitty. Other than 1 week, and it's all been done. Like so. Yeah,
I think they have a lot of records.
They do.
Still around.
Okay, so this album is from 2003. Is that when you first discovered it, or
it would have been a few years later? I think that Greg Graffin record was 2005 or 6.
Okay.
then so after it would have been after that, and then Reunion Tour came out, and I was really excited for that and got that, and then that was it.
Gotcha.
I think they're still technically a band, but they haven't done anything in over 10 years.
Right. Now, Brian picked this album, and Brian's classic thing is to pick not the best of something. So yesterday when we talked about this, he's like, oh yeah, this isn't their best album. Their best album is Left and Leaving. Is that what you said, Brian?
Yeah.
Would you concur with that, or do you think this is their best album, or like how would you rank them?
I think this is generally considered to be their best album. I would actually agree with Brian and say that like Left and Leaving is probably my favorite. I think like all the pieces on Reconstruction that are probably make it the better album, but yeah, Left and Leaving is my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't listened to the other two albums yet. Or is there two other albums or three?
There's three other ones.
There's three. There's an early one that's a little bit more sort of disjointed, and you kind of see the band coming together. But yeah, this is really where I think most people would go to.
Yeah.
Reunion Tour has its moments too. It's a little bit more experimental with the instruments, but there's some good songs on that too.
Well, and Brian, you said that you felt like, I mean, it sounds like this is your favorite one, but you also said you had a job where you would just like put on all of their albums on shuffle, and you can't necessarily, like, they all just sound like they could be from the same album. There's nothing like super distinct about them.
Yeah. I stick by that. Yeah, it was just the most inoffensive music I had on my iPod at the time.
So Brian, as you may or may not know, Brian is now more into things like hardcore. This type of music is not really in his wheelhouse these days, but he said that this still stands the test of time, unlike maybe some of the drive-through records bands that we talked about last year. Do you still appreciate this album all these years later? Do you think it holds up?
I think it holds up. I mean, I've listened to it a few times today, just reminding myself of all the different songs on it, and there's no real weak point. There's a few kind of like album tracks that don't quite hit as hard as the bigger ones, but this album, like I don't think they have really a weak album, which they only have 4 of them, so maybe that's part of it. They didn't last too long, for whatever reason.
Yeah, but I can kind of see what Brian means. Again, this is the only one I've listened to, but after, like, I think the first 5 or 6 songs are just amazing, and then the back half of the album, I'm like, well, these songs are good, but it's really not any different from the first part of it. So it almost feels like it kind of drags on. It's only 40 minutes or something like that, but towards the end, I'm like, yeah, I feel like we've heard this song. I mean, with the exception, Brian pointed out that I maybe was not giving enough love to One Great City, because that's a really good song that's kind of towards the end. But on the latter half, I'm just like, yeah, it's all just kind of samey.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Like it's a great place to be, and they get a little bit more like country-ish at the end. It's more like lap steel or pedal steel, whatever that is.
Right.
They get a little bit more out there. There's some nice harmonies later on. I think his wife is on one of the last songs, but yeah, it's a good place to be if you're going to stay in that zone. It's a good zone to be in.
Yeah. So is this a type of music, like outside of this band, is this a type of music that you were a fan of back then? Are you still a fan of this kind of earnest type music, or is this kind of an anomaly for you?
I don't think it's an anomaly. I mean, this is, I'm kind of a sucker for this sort of like country infused or like folk infused rock. Like there's a through line between this and like Jason Molina's music, or some of like the more like indie like 2000 stuff like Secretly Canadian put out, or like Will Oldham stuff, which is that's on that label.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that kind of answers the questions that I would have. I just want obviously the Canadian perspective on. Is this a big band in Canada? Were they?
They were big. Yeah, they were pretty big. It wasn't really one of those bands that was pushed on the radio. It's not really meant to be popular. Like really? This album especially, they were a little too underground. I think the Reunion Tour had more of a push on like alt radio and that kind of stuff, but it was never too popular. Was this an album that you heard on the radio much, Brian, in the States, or how did you just found it in that record store?
No, I don't think they're very big here.
Okay.
they toured around here and stuff. They came to Madison at least once, but I don't think they're like radio big at all. No.
So how did you decide to pick up the album then, Brian? Because I mean, we talked about their trips to this record store, but in my mind, you saw like Dashboard, and like, yeah, I've heard of this, so I'm going to buy. Like, how did you hear of the Weakerthans?
I remember reading about them in alt press a lot.
Okay.
Former guest of the pod, Scott Heisler, wrote about them extensively.
Okay. Interesting.
And my brother happened to have Reconstruction set on CD, so I used to steal that a lot.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, I don't want to hog all the space here. Do you have any questions or anything you want to ask our guests while we have a chance?
No. What about Canadian nu metal?
There was a little bit of it.
I remember you were going to do my nu metal comp, and you suggested, or you were going to do a Project Y song, who I'd never heard of.
I can't believe you're going to pick on our guest for bailing on your comp. Look at this. We're trying to have a nice conversation here.
There was a little bit of it. Yeah. When it was big, they because they had to fill 30% of the air with Canadian stuff, they either found or picked some Canadian acts that kind of fitted, and that was one of them. Kitty was another one. I think Alex, you had mentioned you were going to talk about as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know they were.
There's a few. Yeah, they're from London, Ontario, just close to where I grew up, and then they were kind of a big deal for a while. But there wasn't much beyond that. We just kind of got the same stuff everyone else got, the Limp Bizkits and the Linkin Parks and all that.
Have you heard Flashback?
I haven't.
They're a new nu metal band that's coming out of Canada. They're making waves in the States a little bit.
Take a look for that.
Nu metal's still a thing?
It's back. It's I think it's going to come back, yeah.
Okay. That's unfortunate.
I'm excited. Yeah, check out Flashback. It's 2 words. It's pretty great nu metal worship coming out of Canada. I think they're from Toronto, maybe.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
Playing a basement show in Milwaukee coming up, so I'm pretty excited about that. They got the DJ.
Take a look for that.
Yeah. That's all I have to contribute.
Okay. Perfect. Well, that's more than you contribute to our normal episodes, so thank you, Brian. So yeah, Matt, I mean, while you're here, is there anything in particular you want to plug other than your Twitter account and the idea of CanCon? Or, I mean, you said you're in the film industry. I don't know if there's anything you can let us know about, or things we should be watching that you're a part of.
Nothing that I'm allowed to talk about right now. We'll be out in a year or so.
So nothing that's been released previously, like you weren't.
Nothing lately. I worked on Snowpiercer last year, but didn't really have a good experience there.
Okay.
So I just been on the same show for about a year since then, and it's still in progress. So it'll be out next year. And
gotcha. And you are coming stateside soon, returning. You said you were in LA, and now you're going to New York, which is the far better city. I assume you've been to New York before.
Oh yeah, lots of time there. But
yeah,
no, I didn't dislike LA. It has its qualities.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the beach. The beach is nice. I mean, there are parts of LA that are nice, like Santa Monica and Venice, but like when I think LA, I think that gross downtown, like that big round building and the disgusting skyline. I don't know. LA is just gross.
Yeah, no, the parts of it are gross. No, I lived in a nice part, so I was pretty happy where I was at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see that. That's lots of ska guys, and the stereotype is true.
Right.
With checkered vans and shorts and bowling shirts. It's great.
That's great. So ska is back then?
I don't know. Will we have a fourth wave ska? Probably not.
Okay, well. All right, well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us and talking about the Weakerthans, and we really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. Enjoy the rest of CanCon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stuff there, and a lot of garbage. So, cool.
I think we're gonna have more garbage than great stuff, but I guess that's to be determined. So.
Yeah, it's a wild ride.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
The Zeitgeist Lab Collections podcast, hosted by Brian and Alex, edited by Poli-Sci Alex, executive produced by Can Blurry for Itchy Grundle Podcast.